stay, and I'll have a QR code that you guys will scan to do a quick survey. Okay, you can begin.
All right, thank you.
You would rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose.
The game of football has helped develop me in ways that I could not have done on my own. Whether it was when I played high school football, 1 year as a walk-on, a few years of semi-pro, then later coaching 12 years of high school football, 3 at Independence in Charlotte, or 9 at South Point in Rock Hill. Some of my favorite quotes come from Chadwick Boseman. He said something that was very profound and meant a lot to me. He stated, "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left. And I could say, I used everything you gave me."
Greg, what are you doing?
It resonated within me, and that's the reason why I have stepped outside of my comfort zone. My desires to speak life into the youth began to take form over 3 years ago, and after 12 years of coaching the X's and O's and being a part of 8 state championships, "12 years, 8 state championships. Coach Simps out. Next chapter." I now coach the game of life. One should live to grow and not stay the same.
If you're able to accept the coaching, if you're able to accept when somebody criticizes you, there's positive that can come from it. There's positive that can come from it. I told you guys last time, in life, you should always be pushing forward, all right? I said you always should live to grow. Don't stay the same, all right?
My name is Welvin Simpkins, and I'm the CEO and founder of Live to Grow, which is a program that's designed to assist middle school, high school, and even college students to determine their purpose in this world of uncertainty while retooling their mindset for personal growth. For 12 years, I coached the game of football and won 8 state championships as a high school coach. The passion and the grind and the dedication it took to be successful at the highest level was embedded deep inside of me. Well, now I take that same drive and that same dedication, that same tenacity, and I apply it to the game of life. The ultimate goal of Live to Grow is to speak life into young adults by being transparent, authentic, and to inspire them to live every day with the mindset of not staying the same.
Yes, I did.
I want you to always maximize your life. Maximize your life, all right? Make sure you make the best of it and make it as great as you possibly can. Because you only get one trip around this track called life. One trip. So you want to make sure you make the best of it. Whatever it is you go through, there's always something good come from it. Now sometimes we have to look for it. It's not as obvious sometimes, but there's good in everything that you go through. I'm a firm believer in that. So when you're in a dark place, you sometimes tend to think you've been buried. But again, find that positive. Perhaps you've been planted. Perhaps you've been planted. So guess what? Just bloom. At that point, just bloom.
Did you realize that you were a champion? Did you grow from your experiences on yesterday? Did you maximize every opportunity today to be better than you were on yesterday? You get one time around this track called life. We must realize that there's good in everything that we go through, even in those dark places. Just bloom, baby. Just bloom. For more information, please follow me on Facebook, Live to Grow, or you can send me an email, livetogrownow@gmail.com. Allow me to serve as your personal growth coach and assist you in becoming a champion. Don't ask me why. Ask me how. Live to grow.
So it was a Monday, 2007. I was on my way to the warehouse to pick up my product. I was an independent distributor, but this day was a day that forever changed my life. Conventional wisdom said that that was supposed to be my last day on earth. I was 28 in the prime of my life. Again, I worked for a company by the name of Bon Appetit, independent distributor. I was heading to the warehouse, traveling 485. Those of you the road, 485. Speed limit 70, 75 miles per hour. So I was off in the left lane, traveling to the warehouse. Somewhat busy because it was the weekend after the 4th of July. So people was getting back to their destinations, to their homes. I saw a van that was traveling in the middle lane. Again, I'm in the far left lane. Van was in the middle lane, and I saw a pickup truck that was carrying a trailer on the right-hand side. Didn't think much about it at the time. Well, that truck eventually ended up coming into the lane of the interstate too fast, and he merged into the middle lane, which then sent the van flying into my work van, which sent it into a tailspin. So all of a sudden, I'm driving 70 miles per hour, and I've lost control of the vehicle. So at that point, I had come to terms, like, you know what, this is it. This is how I'm gonna end my life. I didn't see no chance of me surviving that accident at all. Again, I'm on 45 going 70 miles per hour. So the van clipped the back end of my van, sent it into a pit maneuver. I slid across 3 lanes of traffic. At one point, my van is actually facing oncoming traffic. Once it got to the side of the road, it hit the embankment area. It was a grass area, what have you, and it went all the way to the top of the embankment, and then it flipped and rolled back down to the bottom on its tires. Now, from time to time, I will make different reference to my belief because I didn't think I was gonna make it out of the accident. So in the process of all this, I said, God, I'm not ready to die. And at that point, he took me into his arms because looking at these pictures from this van, very, very bad accident. As you can see, the windshield itself came out of the frame. The impact was on the very side of the driver's side. So the side where I hit took the most of the impact once I slammed into the embankment. So from those 5 pictures, just a quick show of hands, how many of you think I may have broken an arm in that? Okay, a few. How about a leg? What about C, a neck? Anybody say I did all of the above? Okay. What about E, none of the above? Anybody say I broke nothing? Okay. All right, we had a few. All right. I'm gonna answer that question in a few more slides. This here is the actual picture of where the accident took place. Now, on the right-hand side of that grass area, that's where my van hit. That's where it slid up the top of the hill and rolled back down. An officer came to the hospital, and he was like, "Man, you're a very lucky guy because had your van been inches further down the road, it would have slammed right into that concrete overpass. That impact would have hit right at that concrete overpass. So I knew then that, you know, there was something that was special about what took place, because that van could have easily have tailspin down the road a little further and hit that concrete overpass. Now, how many of you guys have one of these? The original seat belt. Yeah. You know, my mom, yeah, she riding around and slam on brakes. Just throw their hand out there. Well, again, I was going to work, so I didn't have mom with me. So I'm traveling down the road, 70 miles per hour. I mean, I'm swirling out of control. Like I said, I hit the embankment, come back down, flip down, landed on 4 wheels. All the while, I was not wearing my seatbelt. Again, I was not wearing my seatbelt. So I asked the question again. Now, knowing that I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, how many think I broke an arm or my hand in that accident? Perhaps a leg? What about C, my neck? D, all of the above, anybody? Well, how about E, none of the above? Well, to my surprise, the answer is E, none of the above. I walked away with a few bumps and bruises, but no broken bones. So 48 days later, August 26th, I'm standing yet again in my eyes at the gates of heaven, because I'm involved in another accident. This time I'm traveling I-20. I'm traveling, coming back home from a funeral. At the time, she was my fiance at the time, but I had went home to her grandmother's funeral. So I was traveling back from the Columbia area to Rock Hill, the Charlotte area. Now, from this picture here, it's a nice, pretty day in Columbia, right? Well, for some odd reason, those wasn't the conditions I was traveling in. All right, these was more like the conditions I was in. It was raining, it was a lot of wind. So I'm traveling around 20. I'm going around about 60 miles per hour or so. And I hit a water portal. I hit a water portal, and my vehicle hydroplaned. Now, I probably should have known this. Again, I'm 28, you know, so I probably should have known not to have my vehicle in cruise control while I'm driving in the rain, but I didn't. So when my vehicle hit that water puddle, it hydroplaned and it threw the truck in out of control. So I ended up spinning across the lanes of traffic. I hit the concrete barrier, and then it slung me back across to hit the iron rails on the outside. So this accident wasn't as bad as the van accident, but yet again, an accident that probably could have taken my life. Now, I know some of you guys might be saying, did you have your seatbelt on? Yes, I have a seatbelt on this time. I have a seatbelt on, you know, so I did learn my lesson from that. You know, somebody else might be saying, hey, that guy can't drive. Well, trust me, I've gotten better. I've gotten a whole lot better with my driving. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this guy. This guy is Jeff Davis. He is he works at Clemson University. He was actually inducted into the South Carolina Hall of Fame from this picture. He's actually the MVP player from the 1981 championship team at Clemson. And I had a chance of meeting him back in 2000. My fraternity at the time, Kappa Alpha Psi, we were trying to do a comedy show at Clemson. And Mr. Davis, he served on that panel. Well, we've created a relationship that we've constantly stayed in contact. And one of the things that I learned from Pastor Davis was, once you've learned something, once you've grown from a situation, it's up to you to make sure that you pass that information on so somebody else can grow and somebody else can develop themselves and become a better person from life experiences. So it was on September 9th, 2007, he allowed me to come into his church, and I shared my story as far as the 2 accidents that I had been in and how I was able to survive both of them. Little did I know that 10 years after that, I will begin to walk in my purpose as far as what I want to do as it relates to giving back and serving people. So he gave me that first opportunity. So we go to August 10th, 2016. I was coaching football at the time at South Point. It was really hot day, very hot, muggy. I think the temperatures might have been in the mid 90s. The humidity was very high. The guys, we had just started fall practice, so they was, doing the best they could to kind of, stay involved with what we were asking to do. We as coaches, we were drenched, in sweat, and we really wasn't doing anything other than blowing a whistle, giving out commands, things of that nature. But very tough day on the kids. At that time, going through that practice, I didn't think, too much about it other than a typical, day starting fall practice. Well, that night, I got a call from my sister. She stays in Columbia. And she was like, have you talked to Dale? Dale is our older brother. She was like, because there's been an incident at Lewis's school. Lewis is my nephew, my brother's son. And they said somebody had to be, transported to the hospital. Somebody, passed out while at practice, had to be transported to the hospital. I'm like, well, no, I haven't heard anything. So let me give him a call. So I called my brother and I was like, hey man, what's going on, man? I just talked to Wendy and she said there was an incident at River Bluff and, somebody may have passed out and had to go to the hospital. Is everything okay down there? And he was like, yeah, man, let me call you back. I'm like, okay, yeah, just come back. Thought that was very odd. He never answered the question, but I ended up getting my laptop and ended up going to the newspaper, the state newspaper. And I ended up finding out that on that day, my nephew, 14 years old, Lewis Simpkins, had collapsed at practice, ended up passing away due to those, I guess, heat related issues that they were dealing with in Columbia. And I imagine my brother, he just couldn't fix himself to say what had happened, reason why he couldn't share that. But that was a very, very tough year for me to continue coaching because my nephew, I would like to think that, he got involved with football, because he knew I was coaching and he knew his dad, him and I both played football. So, it was something that we kind of had, encouraged him to take part in. He was a sophomore, playing on the varsity level, but he passed away on that night. And like I said, that was a very tough year for me to continue to coach. Again, season hadn't even started yet, but I was able to finish the season. Again, it was one of those challenging moments, but at that time, had I not finished the season, or had I stepped away from the game like I thought I was going to after the season, then I would have missed my opportunity to get the opportunity that would present itself the following year. So in 2017, Coach Herron, he had been studying college programs, and he wanted to kind of add to our schedule a life skill piece where we would have a day that's designated for life skills study, resting of the bodies, and film study. Now, he selected the day he selected was Wednesday. Anybody that knows anything about high school football or have coached high school football, and that's a very important day to work out your kinks and get everything in for as game plan is concerned. So we as assistant coaches thought he was crazy, but it ended up being pure genius. We finished 15-0 that year. We won our 4th straight state championship that year. The guys completely dominated, the competition. The guys were healthy quite naturally, but it was that moment, it was in that year that I was allowed to be the life skill coach. And that's when I began to really see that I was something else that I wanted to do with my life, because at that time, as I'm preparing week to week for a game, I found more pleasure in planning for the life skill portion than I did the X's and the O's. So that's when I knew it was a shift that was being made. And 3 years later, Live to Grow was born. So December 30th, last year, that was the day that we launched Live to Grow. Now, I tried to launch Live to Grow back in November, the beginning of November, something happened. I tried it mid-November, couldn't get it to work. Friday after Thanksgiving, couldn't get to work for whatever reason. I could not get Live to Grow to launch when I initially thought that I was going to get to lunch. But on this day, we did get the lunch. It was to a point where I had been tweaking some things and got some things back to where I thought it was good to ready to share with people. So I ended up launching it on Facebook. I ended up launching Live to Grow. It began to, get a lot of buzz from a lot of different people. It was one of those things where, I took pride in knowing that, okay, this is something that I've just introduced, but, it's starting to get a lot of positive feedback. And, so I was excited. I was super excited to see, how it was starting to get some positive responses. But then 4 days later, Sunday, January the 3rd, it all changed. Another shift took place. Now, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with working in warehouses, but this here is a picture of a warehouse. This is not me, but it's a gentleman that's working in the warehouse. And this is at FedEx. I took on a part-time job to work at FedEx over the Christmas holidays to earn some extra money. So I'm at FedEx working on that Sunday and not thinking of it was a typical Sunday at FedEx. It was kind of slow. And I'm listening to my music, had my phone on, had my earbuds in. Now, I'm not sure if anybody in the presentation has ever worked at FedEx, but I was breaking all kind of rules because you're not supposed to have your phone on the dock. You're not supposed to have earbuds in. So I was breaking both of them, but again, at the end of the day, it was a slow day. The manager that usually work on Sunday was way laid back. So I'm sitting there, listening to music, and then all of a sudden I got a text from my sister and I got a call from my sister. Now, I had spoken to the sister before I had went to work. So she knew the rules. She knew I wasn't supposed to have my phone. She knew I wasn't supposed to be, taking calls. But for whatever reason, on that day, I had my phone and I was listening to music. So I saw the phone call, let it go to voicemail, and I saw the text. So the text was like, hey, if you can, you need to get off from work. Something, has happened to Dad. He's taking him to the emergency room. So of course I get off work, traveling down the road, which is about 2 hours. I'm about 2 hours from my hometown. So I get there and talk to my mom, and she tells me that, my dad, he had suffered a massive heart attack and had passed away. So now I'm like, okay, man, really? What am I supposed to do now? My dad, he's always been in my life. He's been very supportive of everything that I've done. And I was crushed, to say the least. Because I could not figure out, well, why would this happen right when I'm starting to propel what I've determined to be my purpose? I understood what my why was, why is this happening now? And I couldn't make sense of it. I was like, my dad never got a chance to really see me get this program up and rolling. I mean, what am I to do now? Well, I began thinking about some things that I had saw, and I remember this quote that says, people lose their way when they lose their why. Now I had just determined what my why was. I just figured out what my why was. So I knew then I could not lose my way based on my circumstances. I remember having a conversation with my brother, like, man, what do we do now? We knew that that day was going to come at some point, where we may have to live our lives, rest of our lives without a parent or what have you, but mentally we just wasn't prepared for it. I was like, man, bro, what are we to do now? How do we handle this? He was like, man, you know what? And my brother, he was very good at some very encouraging words in such tough situations. He was like, man, look here, just as simple as this, man, you got to take your own words. You got to live to grow. You have to live to grow, because that's what life is. We have to always make sure that we're working towards something else. You can't become stagnant. So when you said that, that resonated within me. I knew then, okay, well, I got to continue to move forward. So at my dad's homegoing service, we were able to honor him. I spoke on behalf of the family and sung some songs that was near and dear to his heart. So I knew then that my step had to continue to keep moving, because I had to find my purpose. I knew what my purpose was. I knew what it was, and I couldn't allow the loss of my dad to stop me from operating in my purpose. So I realized I got two choices. When life happens, life happens to all of us. You can either sit, you can soak, you can dwell on how unfair life is, or you can figure out how to make it better. You can figure out ways in which you can allow this situation to make you a better person and to make you a stronger person. So I took that opportunity to make up in my mind that no matter what was going on, I don't care how difficult it may be, I don't care how unfortunate it was, I wasn't just going to get through it. I wasn't just going to, mosey on through it. I was going to thrive. I was going to allow this opportunity to allow me to grow and understand that my purpose doesn't stop because life happens. You must keep moving. Because what if, everything that's going on, I've been working at this thing for 3 years. I had been putting in work, trying to come up with a program. So I had put in 3 years of developing, Live to Grow, so what if what I'm going through now was preparing me for what I asked for? I asked for an opportunity to be able to deliver, some words of encouragement that could help young people. So what if that was part of it? So I had to know that this is something that I had to make sure I can move on through, because sometimes you're gonna be in that dark place, right? Sometimes it may seem as if you're buried. Sometimes it may feel as if, but perhaps at that time you're being planted. Just maybe you're being planted. And at that point, just bloom. At that point, just bloom. Because I'm a firm believer in God. Like I said before, and my disclaimer earlier was, I'm not here to convict anybody as it relates to their religion. I'm just speaking of personal preface. But I'm a firm believer that God gonna push me to the edge, and I'm gonna trust him fully. Because only two things can happen in my mindset. Either he's gonna catch me when I fall, or I'm gonna learn how to fly. Now, that's just me. That's just me talking, okay? Like I said, I'm not here to convert anyone. That's just me talking from my own personal experience. Those are the two things that can happen. So in my mind, those are the two things that can happen. Well, both of those are kind of win-win for me. Those kind of win-win for me, right? So what am I saying? Maximize your life. Make the best of it. No matter what may be coming your way, no matter what situation you have to overcome, make sure you're able to maximize every opportunity, you're faced with. So how do we do that? How do we maximize our life? Well, you must have a plan. You must have a plan of action. And me being a coach of 12 years, I see everything in the eyes of a coach, right? I see everything in the eyes of a coach because, there must be some type of plan in place in order to be successful. You just don't walk out on the field and be successful. You have to have a plan in place. You have to make sure you're putting things in place that's going to make you, give you the best opportunity to be successful. So how does the sports world, how do we determine it? Well, in the sports world, the ultimate level of success is to become a champion. If you become a champion, then you've reached the ultimate level of being successful. That's how the world sees, success in athletics, when you become that champion. So what I want to talk about is being a life champion. How do we become a life champion? Again, like I said, I've made that shift from football to now life. So how do we become a life champion? What does that look like? What does a life champion look like? Well, in order to understand what a life champion looks like, you have to understand your why. You have to understand your why. So what is your why? What is your why? And does your work ethic match your why? Those are the kind of questions that you have to ask yourself. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with these two ladies here, Ms. Coco Golf and Sloan Steffens, but both of these young ladies, they understood what their why was, and their work ethic matched their why. In 2019, Coco, she started out ranked number 685. By the end of October, she was ranked 71. Her work ethic, it matched her why. Now, Ms. Sloan Steffens, her case is a little different. She was coming off an injury prior to 2017, and she was ranked 957th, right? Within a month, less than a month, she had moved up to 83rd as a ranking, and she eventually won the US Open that year. So she went from 957th to 83 to number 1. Her work ethic matched her why. I'm not sure if you guys can see this picture, but I'm quite sure everybody know this guy. We all know him as Tom Brady, but you know, Mr. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. was a 6th-round draft pick. A 6th-round draft pick. Now, I don't know how many people know the drafts and how it worked or what have you, but there are 7 rounds of NFL players that can get drafted. 7 rounds. I think it's totaled out to be roughly 250 some odd players. He was selected 199th. Almost wasn't even drafted. 6th round. Almost was an afterthought. But now we all know that he's considered the GOAT. He's won 7 Super Bowl champions. His work ethic matched his why. So what am I saying? It's not where you start, but it's where you finish. It's not where you start, but it's where you finish. Now I want to toot my horn a little bit here. I'm a GOAT too. See, I got 8 rings. So Mr. Tom Brady, he got 1 more before he can catch me. And you're like, man, come on, man, that's high school ball. What are you talking about? This guy's Super Bowl champion. I know, I'm just playing. All right, so game plan of life. What should that look like? Again, you should have a plan in place that helps you determine your why. You should have a game plan in life that helps you determine how to become a champion. Now, this here is actually a game script from my coaching days. Now, as you can see, it's a lot of stuff on here. You know, we consider this organized chaos as a coach because everything is organized. It's chaotic, but everything is organized. If you see in the middle, we have runs, our different types of runs. On the right-hand side at the top, we got the screen game. At the very bottom, we got the drop back game. On the far left, we got drive starters. But at the very top left, we have an opening script. Now, these are like the 10 plays that we feel are our go-to plays. These are the plays in which when it's time for us to make a play or when it's time for us to get something to swing our way and we need something that's going to be positive, these are the plays that we go to. These are our go-to plays, right? So in life, guess what? We need some plays too. We need 10 plays for a life champion. We need to have 10 things, in my mind, we need to have 10 things that we're able to do and do at a high level in order to become a life champion. Number 1, you must have an established belief system. Again, as I said before, I'm a believer in God, I believe in Jesus Christ, but that doesn't say that my religion is better than the next person. Whether it be Buddha, whether it be Allah, whomever you believe in, you must have an established what that is and what drives you. And once that's been established, you must have the I believe mentality. I'm not sure how many of you guys follow what Coach Deion Sanders is doing down at Jackson State. But he has won as many games at the beginning of the season. They've won all year as it relates to year in, year out. Year in and year out, before Coach Sanders got there, they was winning like 3 ball games. Right now, they already won 3. So he's already outdone what coaches before him had already done. One thing that he did was he went down there and changed the mentality. He has those guys believing that they can be successful. So developing that belief system, I think Albert Einstein said it best. Imagination is everything, right? It is the common attraction. It's the preview of life's common attraction. So if you can imagine it, if you can think it, then it can happen. So again, developing that belief system. Number 2, be true to yourself, right? Never compromise who you are, regardless of the situation you're in, regardless of the people you're around. never compromise who you are as a person. All right. There's a well-known poet out there. He had a song that's one of the first lines of the song. He said, it was all a dream. It was all a dream. And then his sidekick would come back with, won't stop, can't stop. Won't stop, can't stop. Well, what am I saying here? Don't never. And I know for all my English folks out there, y'all getting on me, I use a double negative there, yeah, but don't never stop dreaming. Don't never stop dreaming. Because guess what? Naysayers, they're gonna be out there. They're gonna come. But guess what? That dream wasn't given to them. It was given to you. It was given to you. And I read this the other day. It said, no one is supposed to understand your calling. It wasn't a conference call. So if it wasn't a conference call, then, you know, who cares if you don't understand who I am and why I'm this way? But don't never stop dreaming. Be true to yourself. Number 3, focus on the details. Now I got 2 quotes for this. Focus on details. It said, the secret of success is being able to do the common thing uncommonly well. The secret of success is being able to do the common thing uncommonly well. That was said by a guy by the name of John Rockefeller. So that means you guys got to be able to do the small things right. Be great at the small things. So those small things are usually the ones that can prepare you to heights that you may not even thought you could accomplish. So being able to do those small things right. And the other quote comes from, you know, one of the greatest boxers of all time, Mr. Muhammad Ali. It says, champions have to have the skill and the will, but at some point, that will must be more than that skill. So at some point, your will to be the best has to be more to drive you than that skill. So focusing on those details. Number 4, self-check, reflect, and check your huddle. Okay, self-check. I just saying being accountable. Own it. If you did something great, own it. If you did something bad, own it. But be willing to check yourself in certain situations. Reflect. Being transparent. I think it's important to be transparent. Because guess what? It's one thing to know and acknowledge your strengths, but I think at the same time, you also must know your weaknesses. So be able to be transparent with people. Understand what that means. And check your huddle. We got to check your huddle. A term we use in football is have your head, keep your head on the swivel. That means be mindful of what's going on around you. Because guess what? You have to be careful about the people you be associated with, and you have to be careful who you trust. Because if you have 2 bowls and you put salt and sugar in each bowl, they look the same. So you just never know. So be mindful of the company you keep. All right. Be mindful of the company you keep. I saw a quote the other day. It says, drive careful on this road called life, because folks will change lanes on you without using the signal. And that is so true. They will change lanes on you without even using the signal. All right. Number 5, this is my favorite. Don't embarrass grandmama. Big mama. Don't embarrass grandmama. We all got a grandmama that we love. When nobody don't want to do nothing to disappoint grandmama, right? So what is that? The golden rule. We all know what the golden rule is. Treat others as you wish to be treated, right? Integrity. Doing what's right when no one's looking, right? Character versus reputation. Well, I want to lean more towards the character piece, because guess what? Reputation is what and who people think you are. What your character is who you really are. So make sure you don't embarrass grandma. All right. Number 6, chin up, chest out, keep moving. I got this one from one of my fraternity brothers. He called me shortly after my dad had passed away. And ironically, his mom had passed away a few months prior to. So we had, I had been calling him during that course of it. So, now that I'm going through my spiel, he was calling me, and he just said, man, you got to keep your chin up, chest out, and keep moving. So you got to be resilient. You got to be resilient in what you haven't be faced, because sometimes, things happen beyond our control, but you got to be resilient with it. And as you're doing that, sometimes you're going to fail. And guess what? It's okay to fail. Because if you're failing, that means you're trying. If you're failing, that means you're trying. Because when we're going through things, when we're trying to develop who we are, everybody at some point wants to grow. Everybody wants to get to that mountaintop, right? Whether it be at the mountaintop, with a job, whether it be at a position, whether it be, whatever it could be. We all want to get to that top. And that's work to get to the top. But guess what? The most growth take place down in the valley. When it's tough, when it's hard, when it's something you can't understand, you can't quite figure out. That's where the most growth takes place. So don't get so, I guess, discombobulated with those moments that requires some level of understanding, because that's where you obtain the most growth. Yeah, I want to get to the top. I want to be at the very high end. But I'm not going to shun those opportunities that I have to learn and develop myself when I'm going through those valleys. Number 7, adjust and adapt. I used to always tell my players when I was coaching, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So when you're working through things, when you're doing things, situations are going to happen all around you that we can't control. But understand how to think fast, but talk slow. Again, process what's going on around you, but kind of take time to maybe make sure your communication skills is where it needs to be, so you'll give off the right message. All right? Because when those things that go on around you that's not aligned with what you think they should be aligned with, you got 2 options. You can either allow it to be a stumbling block, or you can allow it to be a stepping stone. I choose to allow it to be a stepping stone, right? Because as I said earlier, there's good in everything that we go through. Sometimes it's not as obvious. Sometimes we have to look for it. But there's good in everything we go through, and I'm a firm believer in that. Number 8, don't hate the player, hate the game. Man, don't get so stressed out about what somebody else is doing, what somebody else got. That doesn't make you who you are, who you cannot be. All right, so don't get caught up in those things. All right, challenge yourself, right? Challenge yourself and have a sense of urgency to make sure that you position yourself to grow and develop as best you can. Because guess what? You don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great. So again, don't get so bent out of shape when you're not where you think you should be. Just keep moving, keep grinding, keep working. Number 9, carry the torch. Now I had this opportunity to do this myself. I was in high school, or senior in high school. I was training with my brother, and he was telling me, like, man, bro, I'm telling you, there's gonna come a time at some point during the season, you're gonna have to be ready to carry the torch. Now the question is, will you be ready when that time comes? Well, again, I'm in high school. I didn't think that's about it. Like, man, he's just trying to get me to work harder. That's all he was doing, pushing me. But sure enough, at the lower state game, we were up big early, and we got down late. It was pretty much our last drive. Either we gonna score here or we gonna turn it over, and we going back home. But we had a play that was called. It was 4th and 10. It was a hook and ladder play. I was to catch the ball and pitch to the running back. Well, during the course of the play, we never practiced me catching the ball and the running back falling down. It was rainy, it was messy, it was the worst playing field that we had ever played on. So when the running back coming out, he failed. I'm like, well, man, what am I supposed to do? Well, mentally I knew I can't toss the ball until the man gets up. So he got up, gathered his feet, I tossed the ball. We got a big block by our O-lineman that sprung for the first down. A couple of plays later, I ended up catching the winning touchdown pass that took us to the state championship game. So I mentally had prepared myself for those moments because I had been processing it. I had been mentally focusing on, when this happened, what am I going to do? So we have to have that Mamba mentality. Anybody that's a fan of basketball, I think we all can say that Kobe Bryant was one of the most fierce competitors out there. And that was because he was always challenging himself to be the very best. He had a constant quest to be the best version of himself. And he put forth that effort every day he stepped on the court. And last but not least, 10, either we win or we learn. Never lose. All right? Because guess what? We're living to grow. And everything we do, we're living to grow, because we're allowing a situation that goes on in our lives that may not be perfect, but we're going to allow it to make us better. Because nothing we do can change the past, but we can make sure we're piecing things together to affect our future. So we either win or we learn. We never lose. We either win or we learn. All right, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this story. Miss Deshauna Barber, she won Miss USA in 2016. but she put out a quote, and I encourage you guys to, look up her story. It's a very, very, very powerful story. It says, don't ever fear failure, but be terrified of regret. You will hear more no's than you will yeses, but all it takes is one yes. That's all it takes is one yes. All right, so quick question. How many people in the world? Anybody know this question? How many people in the world? I can't see my chat right now, but anybody want to unmute and give me a shout out as far as they know how many people are in the world or guess? No? Okay. Well, I'll tell you, 7.8 billion people. It is 7.8 billion people in the world. And out of 7.8 billion, not one of us is the same. Not one. We all are different in some kind of way. So what am I saying? Don't try to be like someone else. Be the best version of you. Be the best version of you. Because what you have to remember is that we were given a fingerprint. God gave us a fingerprint that no one else has, so you can leave an imprint that no one else can. So keep in mind, if I'm always trying to be like someone else, if I'm always trying to compete with others, well, if I compete with others, I can sometimes become bitter because I might not do it as well as they did, or I might not be as smart as they are. But if I compete with myself, I'm gonna become better. So don't get so caught up in competing with other people. Compete against yourself, all right? It's not about being the best. It's more so about being your best. It's more so about being your best. I don't have to be the best, but if I'm being my best, then my best is what counts. Why fit in when we were born to stand out? I don't know how many people in here are huge Dr. Seuss fans, but Dr. Seuss said that. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? I thought it was very, very unique because we are. Yeah, we have similarities from time to time with people, but ultimately we were born to stand out. That's why we were here. So what am I saying? Grow through what you go through, regardless of what it is. Chad Boseman said earlier in my intro, your very existence is wrapped up in the things that you were here to fulfill. Whatever you choose, the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. So you have to believe that and know that everything that you're going through, everything that you have as an opportunity, you must position yourself to grow and make yourself better. I'm gonna share a quick story. I know I'm getting close to time, but I was talking to my mom one day here recently, and she could tell I was trying to process everything that was going on or had gone on with my dad. And she said something. She was like, again, I don't try to hide it. I'm a believer in Christ. I'm a believer in God, and I have to believe, within my heart that, my dad had lived a life that was pleasing in God's sight, and that he's in the presence of the Lord. So my mom said, well, the one thing about the situation, he can't come back to us. But if we live our lives accordingly, we can go to him. So with that, every day since January 3rd, I've been pushing to live my life as best I can. I've been pushing to live to grow. I've been pushing to make sure that today serves better than my yesterday. That's a focus that I have put in. And, I try to, inspire people along the way. So I'm hopeful that, if I inspire one person a day, then to me, that's a win-win. As a coach, we look for those small wins, and to me, that's a win for me. So I encourage you guys, don't be like me. Don't wait till you're 40. Don't wait till you're 40 to figure out what your why is. Empty the tank, man. Go all out. As I said before, you got one time around this track called life. One time. So you want to make sure you make the best of it, because I'm in constant competition with myself just to better myself, because now every now and then I reflect back to as a kid. I'm big on imagination. I figure if you can believe it, you can achieve it. So I'm big on imagination. So, in my mind, I'm working towards, trying to continue to please Pops, and You know, in my mind, I picture my dad is up there, you know, hanging out at the barbershop, you know, and hey man, check out what my baby boy down there doing. He down there changing lives. So mentally, I'm doing things to kind of try to psych myself up to continue to push into doing the things that I know that will make him proud. And also, but at the same time, you know, make me proud. Because again, I understood my why once I defined my purpose. So that's where I'm at now. So I'm making sure that everything that I do, I'm aiming to make sure that my today is better than my yesterday. So what I wanted to say about my workshops, I offer different workshops based on the school needs. I would love to have the opportunity to work with some of you guys as it relates to, you know, bringing some of these same needs to your school. We can mesh things together. As you can see, I focus on 7 pillars of personal growth. We can take 2 or 3 of those and, you know, manage to, you know, put something together for your students' needs. You know, the focal will be, you know, the fundamental level will be, you know, trying to analyze and assess their situation and you know, put them in a position where they can live each day to grow. On the intermediate level, we will try to identify those set goals. You know, once we've assessed it, we want to identify those set goals to determine, okay, how do we improve in all phases of life? And then at the advanced level, you know, we want to have a check system. You know, once we've established all these things, we want to make sure we have a way of checking things to make sure that the goals are being identified or being met. And if they're not being met, okay, well, what do we need to do to help this student, to help this child to be able to meet those, goals? So again, I want to thank you guys for this time and opportunity. I want to thank LSU, Ms. Deborah Kemp, all the faculty and personnel who took part in this event. I thank you guys for sharing with me today, taking time out of your schedule to sit in on my talk. I trust that it was something I said that may have resonated with someone, that would inspire or even empower someone to live to grow. So again, thank you for your time, and I'll turn it back over to the host.
I'm gonna pull up the QR code real quick. If you guys could scan it and then please fill out the survey. Also, if you guys have any questions right now, you guys can unmute yourselves and ask.
Alyssa, thank you for your time. I mean, I hate that my camera, my headphones went down on me, but I think we made it work. It could have been a lot better, but could have been a lot worse too.
I think everything went fine.
Okay. Yeah. Again, so will I get any of that feedback from the I guess the
Surveys. I don't know what they're doing with it. I would imagine that they would, or you could
okay.
always ask Mrs. Kemp about it.
Okay. All
I
right.
know
I'll be sure to.
have access to it. So
Okay. Good. Yeah, I'll be sure to reach out to her because I'm always looking for ways to grow and develop. So, you know, if there's something I could have did different, then I want to know that so I can, you know, make sure I got it taken care of for the next opportunity.
okay. Yeah, I would
All
just
right.
ask her about it.
Okay. Well, good deal. All right. Well, thank you, ma'am, for your time again and for your assistance today.
No problem. Have a good day.
All right. You do the same. Thank you.